All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome one and welcome all inside High and Tight on the Road here as we have the 2024 Iowa High School Baseball Coaches Clinic here. And we are sitting here as we get a chance every year. Thankfully, graciously, we get the chance to do this. And, you know, God bless, we'll do it many more years to come. And I have here, you know, I know we always get some really big guests on the show, but I think we're just topping it here with our next guest, and that's the one and only Coach Servais from Creighton, head coach for the Blue Jays, as we get the chance to kick off the Coaches Clinic with, again, a bang here in really cold. And, Coach, I know you're not you're used to the cold. You got it. You know what it's like here. And certainly what a way to introduce the Coaches Clinic by coming in at sub-zero temperatures.
Yeah, we've been spoiled the last couple of winters, haven't we?
Yes.
You know, the weather's been a lot better. But, you know, most of our players are from the Midwest. I'm from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So this is January. This is January weather. And I don't know if any of us like a lot of snow, but we have a lot of it. But, you know, it's good to talk baseball when we have this kind of weather, get everybody thinking a little bit about springtime and summer. And so I'm anxious to have my opportunity to talk to the high school coaches here at Iowa.
Yeah.
And, you know, we start practice a week from today with our college team.
Yeah.
So it's 4 weeks from today we'll open up the college season.
And how does that, you know, I guess every year it's different. Every year, you know, a little different personnel kind of things. But, man, you get first off, a heck of a venue, as always.
Yeah.
Love the field, love it. But, you know, we're sitting here, and, gosh, obviously we're not going to go do too much outside with the sub-zero temperatures. But, you know, how do you feel about this time of year getting ready? I know, you know, thoughts are high, you know, hopes are high and everything like this, but here we are, and a lot of people may be looking at the football games, and here we are talking baseball at 5-degree weather.
Yeah, it's January is always an interesting month. You know, there's a lot of excitement because college programs get started, and they only give us 3 weeks. You know, 3 weeks to get prepared to play a game. And you're right, we won't be outside for a while, but I enjoy working out indoors for a couple of weeks. I think it's important for us to get outside before our first game. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. This year may be one of those years where we don't get the opportunity, but I enjoy our indoor workouts. We have the attention of the players a lot better when we're indoors. We can really work on some real basic fundamental skills, and we like to do that early in the season, whether we're inside or outside. So, like I said before, most of our players are from the Midwest, and they're used to this kind of stuff. And, you know, hopefully a lot of the snow is behind us, and we'll eventually start warming up. And, you know, we're scheduled to play in Omaha in the first part of March. So
Yeah.
we need the snow to go away.
Oh, yeah. How do you teach playing in the cold? I know that everybody has their thoughts, but I've been there when that ball hits the barrel of the bat, or off the hands. I know it's kind of tough, and I know that stuff like that can creep into a hitter's mind a little bit. How do you teach just playing in the cold? Because obviously here you're going to play a little bit in that.
Well, you know, we're fortunate at home that we play at Charles Schwab, the stadium. So
love it.
The grandstands kind of keep us from the wind. I think the players find that the toughest thing is the wind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have a hard time staying warm when there's wind out there. And thankfully with the stadium, when we're at home, we're sheltered from the wind. So even though it might only be 32 degrees out, it feels a little better than that when we're in the dugout and so on. But I don't know if there's an easy way to keep warm. I think, like I said, most of our players have played in it. We do occasionally have some players from the Sun Belt, and it's always interesting to see how they handle the first time they see snow, the first time they play in 30-degree weather. But you know, the guys are usually so anxious to get started in February and March that I really don't hear them say much about the weather.
Yeah. Well, and certainly what we love around here is the chance to, just to get to play is huge and great, and it's really good to see that. And I think one of the things that I like is, I like getting to go to Omaha. You know, I'm an Iowa guy, but I love to get to go to Omaha, not just for the College World Series, but obviously to watch Creighton play. And it's year after year, it's really fun. Obviously, you put a good product on the field, but beyond that, the coaching staff, You have a great coaching staff, a great setup here. We've talked to Mr. Johnson as well, Cam Johnson, and you look at a lot of these coaches and they're doing a lot outside the season, and they're really busy. They're really, doing a whole lot of things, and it's I want to get your take on that, really. I mean, it's a great coaching staff, but it seems like a great culture there. Everything seems to run real well. And these guys are, once the season's done, they're not done. Obviously, you're not done. There's so much that they're doing and so much that you're doing. I mean, this truly is the full-time gig.
Well, the recruitment process is more challenging each and every year. It changes, with the transfer portal now being a big part of it, and a lot of young players in high school wanting to make decisions early in their careers, as early as their freshman and sophomore years. So I would say our coaches spend, once the season is over with, about 70% of their time, if not more, is devoted toward recruiting. That requires travel. That requires being away from home a lot. So it's not easy. It looks kind of glamorous at times when you watch it on TV, or if you're fortunate enough to get to a college game. You see the coaches out there and you say, it looks like it'd be fun. And you're right, it is. But there's a lot that goes into getting to that point where you see it on TV, or if you're lucky enough to see it in person. So recruitment is very, very time consuming. And that's what the coaches are doing the bulk of the time when we're not on the field.
And you mentioned transfer portal, man. What a interesting environment we're in right now, and a lot of things there. I mean, does the atmosphere right now, with the ability of players to kind of leave a little bit, free or without penalty, does that kind of change the way, or does that impact any way that you guys do your recruiting, or what's the outlook overall from a coach's standpoint and what the portal has come to be?
Well, I think in the initial recruitment of a high school player now, you got to even dig in there deeper. What exactly are they looking for? Can you provide that? And then you have to, as best you can, hope to make a decision as to whether or not they'll stay for 1 year, 3 years, 4 years, and so on. But there's no doubt that the transfer portal has made an impact. It's going to make even a greater impact. NIL is coming into play. That becomes a major influencer for these young players. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm kind of, part of me is okay with it. If a player isn't finding his playing time at a particular school, that he has an opportunity to leave and get what he's looking for. But on the other side, when we develop a really good player, is he going to find that an opportunity down south in a different conference where they might have more NIL money? How's that going to factor in? So we're still trying to figure all that out. It's only been a couple years. It usually takes 4 or 5 years before you really get a good feel for how these changes are going to impact our sport. And we're not quite there yet, but there's no doubt it's made an impact so far. I hope it settles down a little bit. I heard that there was 2,400 Division I athletes in the portal last year alone. So that's probably not what the NCAA anticipated.
Yeah, I certainly hope there's a little bit of a change, or at least structured differently. That'd be nice to see, because certainly you see guys really put in the effort over a couple of years and then get their time, and man, they seem to flourish there. And I know I don't have to tell you about that, Coach. Obviously, you know very well. But one of the things that we love doing here, again, is we have Coach Servais here on the Inslides.com hotline from the Iowa High School Baseball Coaches Clinic here in Cedar Rapids. Radisson, wonderful place. But now let's kind of get into, Coach, your ties to Iowa. And that is, you got the chance to be with Iowa State. And, of course, being a Hawkeye fan, I have a Hawkeye cup here. Certainly I won't hold that by any means, but certainly it's really cool to get to talk about Iowa State baseball, as it hasn't been there for quite some time. But that it was first off, tell us about your time with Cyclones. What was that like in the program there? And of course, again, that was some time ago, yes. But again, while they were there, it was a pretty impactful program.
Well, I was fortunate. I was head coach at St. Mary's University in Winona, Minnesota, which is a Division III school, and
Hmm.
we enjoyed our time there. Um, Worked with some great young people, had some very good teams, but I was always looking for an opportunity to maybe advance to the next level.
Yep.
And the Iowa State assistant position job opened up in the middle of the fall.
Hmm.
Bobby Randall was the head coach. He left to become the head coach at Kansas.
Hmm.
They moved Lyle Smith, who was the assistant at Iowa State, into the head coaching position, and he was looking for an assistant. So I applied and had an opportunity to interview in December. I remember coming down to Ames from Winona, Minnesota in an ice storm. Not sure I was going to get there. Did barely get there on time. Had a good interview for about a day and a half. Had a hard time getting back to
Yep.
Winona as there was a lot of ice on the I-35 going back north, and then Lyle offered me the job. About middle of December, and my first day was December 27th. So it was a hard transition in that I came in the middle of the year.
Yep.
Preferably you'd see your players in the fall. I had no idea. I had not met one player, barely knew the head coach.
Hmm.
So here we go. We start in December, and the players return in January for workouts.
Hmm.
We're the Big Eight at the time.
Yeah.
Iowa State's in the Big
Wow.
Eight. And very interesting. I got acclimated to Division I baseball, which is a little different than Division III baseball,
Yep.
and enjoyed that transition. Worked with some talented players, a different type of player than what I was accustomed to working with, and then we went out and got off to a very slow start that year, but we got to the championship game in the Big Eight
Yeah.
tournament, which we thought was a great thing, and we lost to Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State was a powerhouse back in those days with Gary Ward. And then
Oh yeah.
the next year at Iowa State, my last year, I only stayed for 2 years. We joined the Big 12. So now
Hmm.
Texas and Baylor and those schools came into play. Texas Tech, and what a transition that was.
I bet.
Another level of caliber of players. I remember we were scheduled to play Texas in Ames. And the rumor was Augie Garrido, who was at Texas at the time, was not too fond of coming to Ames with the weather.
Yeah.
And we got about a 3 or 4 inch snowstorm on Friday. And back in those days, we'd play a doubleheader on Saturday, single game on Sunday.
Yep.
And by the time we got up to make a decision as to whether or not we were going to play Saturday, Augie already had left. He had left Ames to go back to Austin. So he kind of made a decision for us that we would not play that series at all. So
Wow.
I did not have the experience of going up against Texas and Augie Garrido, but really learned a lot, and came across some excellent coaches at that time. And then after my second year at Iowa State, the opportunity to advance to Creighton became, and then I got a phone call from Jack Dahm and decided to move to Omaha.
Wow. And I'm always big on the journeys to get there. And I love the journey. I love that. Again, really wish, for the state of Iowa, you could still have Iowa State baseball. Yes. I think that would really do a lot and help in a lot of ways. We did get the chance to talk with Bo Hampton a while back. I believe he recorded the final out for Iowa State in the program history. But talking about that program, man, there was not a single person I've talked to that said it wasn't impactful. It was a great program. A lot of good things happened there, and unfortunately, the cards just didn't fall the way a lot of people probably wanted to with that program here. But certainly, as we take a look here, I think it would be very, very impactful if we still had the Cyclone baseball program.
And Iowa State was at a different, financially at a different time back in those days. Dan McCarney was the football coach, and they weren't selling out in football, and football drives a lot of the athletic departments. So they had to make some tough decisions. I think now with the way football is going at Iowa State, basketball has always been strong at Iowa State, both men and women's, that they're in a different place financially now. They probably could take on the responsibility of supporting baseball at Iowa State. I'm a little surprised there hasn't been more conversation about it.
Yeah.
But you hold out hope. I'm from Wisconsin too, and they don't have baseball at the University of Wisconsin. I'm disappointed in that as well because think of all the opportunities that young players are not getting.
Exactly.
We have 40-man rosters now, so between those two programs alone, that's 80 players that aren't having the opportunity to play Division I baseball. So I hope Iowa State revisits it. I know there's a lot of realignment going on, a lot of things happening in the college world right now.
Yeah, there is.
I hope for the sake of these young players that they revisit that someday soon.
Yeah, I hope so. And I know there's obstacles, but certainly it would gain a lot to be able to have Iowa State back on. But as for here, Coach, you get the chance. Again, we're at the clinic. First, I just as we wind things down, your take on a clinic like this, on this being put on. I love the fact that we get to talk to you while I get to watch high school coaches as well as Division III coming around. I think it's kind of a unique blend. But what, from your standpoint, how do you view an event like this?
I've always been impressed. This is my third or fourth time having the opportunity to come over here and visit with the coaches, and I'm so impressed with the leadership, the organization, and even on a miserable day like today, when you look outside, the last thing you think about is baseball. That there'll be 300-400 people here today and tomorrow, trying to get better. The ultimate thing is to try to help young people.
Yep.
And so I'm impressed. I'm impressed with these state associations. Really impressed with the leadership of the Iowa one. Really enjoy coming over here. These are my kind of guys, grinders, work hard, not looking for a pat on the back necessarily, have the kids' best interest at heart, and doing this because of that. They don't make a lot of money at the high school level coaching, but that's not why they're in it. They're in it because they enjoy the game and they enjoy young people. So anytime I get asked to do these kind of events, I try to do it if my schedule allows me because I have so much respect for these coaches and the leadership that goes on here. So they do a great job with their summer stuff. They do a great job with their state tournament. It just feels like baseball when you talk to the folks here in Iowa.
Oh, man, it sure does. I mean, a lot of these guys would play in that blizzard, in that ice storm, for sure. Absolutely love it. And as we start to wind down here, too, I think one of the things that Iowa high school baseball may get a little bit of a negative outlook is the fact that their season is throughout the summer. And I always like to ask coaches of every level this. Theoretically, the season is kind of getting over. And, I know recruiting kind of ramps up. You're in the midst of that. But how do you view recruiting Iowa kids with the season in the summer like that? Is that an obstacle or an opportunity for you guys?
Well, I don't think there's many obstacles nowadays. There are very few athletes that fall through the cracks. There's so much information out there where years ago you had to dig a little bit more in the recruiting process. You had to go to a small community and watch a game to find out if one kid could play. Now there's so many other events where these young people get exposure that really there's nobody falling through the cracks now.
Yep.
When I was in Iowa here, and I oftentimes asked the question, why are you guys playing in the summer? Wisconsin plays in the spring, Minnesota plays in the spring. Their weather's probably worse than yours. And the answer I would get often is, with some of the smaller schools in the state of Iowa, they wanted those athletes to have a chance to participate in track and field. And track and field runs at the same time baseball. So a lot of those players are four-sport athletes in Iowa, which is great. I'm all for playing as many sports as you can during the high school experience. So if the people who are in the know feel like it's best to have baseball in the summer in Iowa, I'll support it because it doesn't hurt them, I don't think, from a recruiting standpoint at all. They're going to get their opportunities if they can play.
Yeah, for sure. And again, we have quite a crop of talent here. Yeah. Absolutely love what we get coming out of Iowa high school baseball every year. But as we wrap up our time here, get you off here, I want to ask your squad at Creighton as we go back there is I've always known it. I've always linked it to defense, and let alone here, you're talking about defense in your speech. That is really fitting because I love the way Creighton plays ball. I love the defensive side of things. How much has that been an emphasis for you? And when you when you talk about, obviously the coaches are going to be in here listening to your speech in some time, but what's kind of the big emphasis when you talk to coaches about the defense and how you do it the right way?
Well, there's so much emphasis on hitting, and there should be. That's what the young players like to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I got into coaching as a young coach, we were a pretty good offensive team, but we weren't winning games. We were losing games 10-8, 9-6, and I'm thinking, Jesus, we're swinging the bat well, we're scoring runs, but we're not winning.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, it's kind of about winning when
Yep.
you get into coaching. So my second year into coaching at the college level, I changed my sights and said, okay, we are going to now learn as much as possible about the defense and the pitching side,
Mm-hmm.
so we can hold these teams down a little bit from scoring. And we started to win a lot more. And I became more interested in it and enjoyed it and become very passionate about defense. And I think it's something that when I get an opportunity to talk to coaches, because there are so many people out there talking about swing mechanics and offense and even pitching, a lot of stuff on pitching, which is great,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe not enough on defense.
Yeah.
And I look at football coaches, I look at basketball coaches, and they spend a lot of time on implementing their defensive schemes and what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see us do it enough in baseball. So
Yeah.
anytime I get a chance to talk to coaches, I'm always going to talk about that because I know it's been helpful for us. It's been successful for us. And hopefully I can give them 1 or 2 points that can help them be more successful when they get into their seasons this summer. So
Yeah.
it is something that we're passionate about. And I really, really enjoy visiting and talking to coaches about it.
Well, no doubt. Hey, can't wait to catch what's going on here. You're presenting right around, I think, 1 o'clock here,
Yes.
so you're right at it, getting right into it. And again, it will be really fun. And Coach, I just appreciate you coming along for the ride here and chatting with us today.
You bet. Good luck with everything.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to wrap things up right now. Hey, we'll be back with more coming on up here on High and Tight on the IA Baseball Network.